Okay, I'm going to show you how to make a beret, and I'm going to teach you a little trick. Okay, and I'm going to teach you how to translate it to any loom you want. Okay, I'm going to tell you how that works. Okay, so here's how it works. I'm going to do this on the 36 peg Nifty Knitter replacement loom that I got from Cindy Wood, and you can use a 36 peg loom if you want, but if you have any other loom, the fine gauge looms in their brand, this is going to work the exact same way. Okay, and I'm going to explain how this works. Okay, you're going to divide the loom in half, and if you're working with an even number, it's going to be easy to divide in half. And with this, it's 18. Okay, you're going to divide in half, and you're going to work a series of short rows, and you're going to do it a total of 4 times. And you're going to be doing a slip stitch on the end, so you're skipping it when you go back every time. Okay, when you're done with a single section, it's 9. Okay, so when you do a single section, so I've done 4 sections here, and each time you finish a section, what you're going to have at the end is you're going to have double the stitches, the slip stitches on the end. Okay, and you're going to add 2 stitches back on every single peg. Okay, and this is going to make sense when I show it to you, but first off, start off by dividing the loom in half, and you're going to work just 1/2 and doing your quarters. Okay, and you're going to do the 4 times what I'm fixing to show you, and then you're going to do a weave-in cast on, which is going to be really easy to figure out, and then you're going to do a rib stitch brim and do Luma Hat's modified bind off. Okay, so let's get started. What you're going to do is you're going to cast on, and I just want that started. Okay, so you're going to cast on 18 or however many half of your pegs on a loom is. Okay, so for this one's 18, so divide your loom in half and do however many, E-wrap on that however many. So I'm going to E-wrap on 18. So okay, I've done 18. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is just E-wrap my way back. Okay, last one. Okay, shove those down. Okay, this gets us started. At this point, you're going to repeat where I'm going from here on out 3 more times after we do it this one time. Okay, so first things first, we're going to skip that peg right there, and we're going to E-wrap our way back. Now once you get the hang of this, you can do whatever stitch pattern you want to create this beret. We're going to stop just before that last peg. Now what you'll keep in mind is this is your center point, this is your outer point. Go ahead and toss those loops over. So if you're working a different kind of loom, you work to just before the last peg. Okay, so you're going to wrap and turn and E-wrap your way back to the very end. And toss that loop over. Don't toss the wrap and turn. Skip the first peg and then wrap to just before the last wrap and turn. Okay, and this works on any loom you're using with however many pegs you're doing. Okay, so you'll rewrap to just before the last wrap and turn. Here's my last wrap and turn. I'm stopping here because I'll need to wrap and turn this one. Okay, toss your loops over. Okay, you're going to wrap and turn the next peg and E-wrap to the end. Toss the bottom loop over. And don't toss that last wrap and turn back in. Alright, now you're going to skip that first peg again. You wrap your way over. You're going to stop just before the last wrap and turn so you can wrap and turn that next peg. Okay, wrap and turn that next peg. You wrap your way to the end. Toss all loops over. Now you're probably starting to see a pattern forming here, and you're right. You're going to continue this, keep doing this, skip one, E-wrap just before the last wrap and turn, toss all the loops over, then wrap and turn it, and you're going to keep doing this back and forth until you're down to here. Okay, so skip that one. I'm going to show you one more time, then I'm going to tell you to pause the video and get it as far down until it gets confusing, and I'll show you how to go about that point where it gets confusing. So there's our last wrap and turn, and we're going to be wrapping and turning that peg. So go ahead and toss the bottom loop over. Okay, wrap and turn the next peg. You wrap all the way over. Okay, so continue doing that. When you go from left to right, skip the first peg, E-wrap over until just before the last wrap and turn, toss all the bottom loops over, wrap and turn, and then E-wrap all the way to the end. This works on any loom you're doing when you have the peg. So you're going to sit there and you're going to go back and forth until you're down to no more pegs you can wrap and turn, which this should be your last one, but I'm going to show you how that looks done with the last 4. So go ahead and pause the video and get yourself up to at least the last 4 pegs, and I'll show you how to finish up this quarter bit, because this will look like a square when you're done. That's okay, it's still going to hang right when you add it to the base of the hat. Okay, I'm down to my last 4 pegs. You see where there's my last wrap and turn. So I'm going to show you how to finish this off. So I'm going to skip the first one. You wrap those 2. Wrap and turn. You wrap 3. Skip. You wrap 1. Wrap and turn. You wrap 2. Skip, wrap and turn, E-wrap, skip, and then you're just going to E-wrap all the way back to the beginning. Right there. You can toss all those over. There's your first section right there, done. And I'm going to show you something. It's suddenly going to make all this click, why it's going to mathematically work out where you can weave in 2 stitches to each peg later on. Okay. And this should work out on any loom, this method. Okay. I love simplifying things like this, and I love the fact that it worked up absolutely perfectly. Okay. Alright, here we go. Our first section is complete. And as you can see, there's a quarter. Okay. You're going to flip it over and you're going to see these chain-like things, see? Okay. Well, let's go in and count them, shall we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay. You'll have 18. Okay. So you do this another time, you'll have the full 36. You do this another time, then you can double 1/2. You do this another time, which is a total of 4 times, you can take and weave in 2 of these for each peg. It works out perfectly. It gives a gathered, looser fit. So this works with any peg. You divide it in half and you do this very technique all the way down, and then you wrap your way back. Then you go and do the panel again 3 more times, and I'll show you how to prep that, and then you'll need to know how to close it. So actually I'm going to skip that first one because you want as little tossed over on this end as possible, because this is the center of your hat and you don't want to have to close it up. So go ahead and E-wrap your way back to the beginning, which is right here. Okay, now at this point, you're going to start back with skip the first one, E-wrap all the way until just before the end, wrap and turn, E-wrap all the way back. So you're going to repeat exactly what we just did again. So at this point, go back to the beginning of the video where I say this is going to start, and repeat the section again. You're going to repeat that 3 times, and when you're done it should look almost like a square. Okay. And then I'm going to show you how to close it up by taking this end and putting it down. So I'm going to show you how to close that up, and then I'll show you how to attach it to all the pegs to do this brim here. So go ahead, pause the video and complete the bulk of your hat. Then I'll show you how to close the ends together and then to finish it up. Okay, as you can see, I have 4 sections. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I did a naughty thing, and I thought I had a second skein of this, and actually I had a second skein. I had another skein of a blue, but it's a darker blue. So I'm just going to show you how to finish up this hat. And for me personally, I'll probably just frog it at the end of the tutorial, but I'm mostly trying to show you how to do this. So I've already made this pattern with this one here. So, and this is Lion's brand, the solids. Solids and the Lion's brand will make a whole one of these on this loom, but if you're getting one of the textured ones, they give you way less yardage, so keep that in mind. Okay, we need to close this hat off. Okay, so what we need to do is, I like to put my original cast on loops back and then do like a Kitchener cast off weave, but if you don't feel comfortable with that, just cast off and then you sew the ends together. Okay, and that's how I personally do it, is put these cast on loops back on the pegs and then do a Kitchener weave, and it really hides it better and smoother to do the Kitchener weave as I'll call it, because it's not a proper Kitchener cast off or bind off, because it's not completely invisible. It just makes it flatter and smoother and stretchy, and that's what I like, because the rest of it's stretchy, and so I like to keep with that stretchy concept. It looks like I need to add one more. Okay. So there I have it. And this is kind of what it should look like. So again, if you don't feel comfortable doing what I'm fixing to do, just cast off and then sew the ends together. But I like this in that it allows stretch, it lays flat, you don't notice it very much. On this one, okay, there's what I did. You barely see it. It's very flat, and in general it just adds a texture to it. So that's what it's going to look like when it's done. Okay, so what I'll need to do is add a long strand and thread a needle through. This can be tedious, but it really is worth it to do this style that I'm fixing to do. Again, if you don't want to, cast off, sew the ends together. Okay, so what I'm going to do is send the needle through the bottom loop like a knit. Okay. Then I'm going to send it through the top loop like a knit. Then I'm going to send through the top loop of the next peg up like a purl. Then I'm going to go back to the previous peg and send the needle through the bottom loop like a purl. And then go back to the next peg and send the needle through like a knit on that bottom stitch. Okay, and then you're going to send the needle through that top one like a knit, and then go to the next peg, send the needle through the top stitch like a purl, go back to the previous peg, send the needle through like a purl on that bottom stitch, then send the needle through the bottom on the next peg, the bottom stitch like a knit. Okay. Then send the needle through the top stitch like a knit. And you should start to see a pattern developing. Go to the next peg, send it up like a purl through that top stitch. Go to the previous peg, send it through a purl on the bottom stitch like a purl, so through the bottom. Go back to the next peg and send it through like a knit on the bottom stitch. And then send through like a knit on that top stitch on that same peg. Go to the next one. I'm going to purl that top stitch. Go back to the previous. You're going to purl that bottom stitch. Knit the bottom stitch on the next peg that you just worked. And then knit again. Okay, you can see I'm starting to run out here, and there's actually plenty for me to sew. But what I need to do is go in and tighten from here all the way over. And how I do that is I find my end and I pull and tighten. Okay, and I personally like to tighten those stitches while they're still on the pegs. Makes it a lot easier than if after you've taken it off trying to find them. So this is just my personal preference, is tightening them while on the pegs still. And a lot of times you'll just lightly pull on one end to know which section you need to pull from the bottom or the top. And you do a light tug, and that tells you where you're pulling from. And I'll tell you this, it usually goes up and down. So if you pull your tension more from the top, the next one you'll pull more from the bottom. That's something to keep in mind. Okay. And now you see I have a ton of thread left, and then I'm just going to go in and I'm going to finish this up. And finishing that up. Send it through the top, pull through. Now you're going to want to go back and finish tightening things up. Okay, then you're going to move everything to the top. And take your stitches off. Okay. And you can see, you can barely see it. Except for that I used a different freaking yarn. Except I used a different yarn for that last bit. Okay, this is what you should have, and it's basically a square. Okay. Now, what you're going to do next is you're going to be doing a weave in cast on, but you're going to be doing 2 stitches to each peg. Okay. I'm going to kind of tie that off. Okay. Now, you're going to be basically doing 2 stitches, and so this is 1, this is 2. And then it'll go on the same peg. Now you could just send it through every other stitch, but I don't like any gaps, and that's my personal preference. Okay, so that is our next step, is to go in and weave in and finish this beret up. Okay, time to show you the weave in cast on that I do. Okay, I like having all my tails in one section, so I'm going to be starting over here, and my first one is right there. Okay, you are going to need a crochet hook. Okay, and I'm going to tell you, how do you know you're going to be working from? Is your negative side's going to be facing up, okay? And your positive side's going to be facing down. Okay, so I'm going to again stick my crochet hook through that first loop. And I'm going to take my working yarn, and I'm going to pull that through and find my beginning point and place that on the peg. Okay, I'm going to find my next stitch, which is right there. Extend that through. Take the working yarn, pull through again, place on top of that last stitch. Go to the next, which is right there. You'll see it, the next. Bring it down, and then go to the next one, bring it down, put 2 loops on. You see what I mean when I say 2 loops will go on each peg, and this gives it a gathered, more poof like a beret has, to do it this way. Okay, but every section you'll see, you're going to send that crochet hook through there, grab the working yarn and put it on the top. So each peg should have 2 stitches on it. And you're going to do this all the way around. Okay. And there's really not an extra loop on that last one, but I'll just go ahead and send it through like that. But as you can see, that worked out perfectly. And it will, no matter what loom you use, you will be able to work up perfectly 2 loops for each peg. Okay, and at this point I like to tie off my ends. I'm going to snip those extras off. Okay, at this point you're just going to E-wrap. I'll probably do this individually, it'll probably work a little better. And you're going to toss all those loops over that you just put 2 on. Because what you've just done is a nice gather of your actual beret. Okay, so you're just going to E-wrap both those loops you just made together. Again, any loom, this will work. This technique will work. Okay. And there you go. Your beret is officially attached. Now, at this point, you can choose to do a rib stitch, you can do a seed stitch. It's up to you what you want to do for your little band here. But you want it to be about 2 inches. So you want it to be about 2 inches. And for this loom, I think I did basically 5 rows. But you want to do 2 inches depending on the loom you're using. And that could vary on how many. The finer the gauge you might be using, the more likely you're going to be doing more rows. So if you're going to do a rib stitch, and with this one I believe sets of 2 worked, so knit 2, purl 2 worked really nicely for this, and I'm doing a U-knit for this so that it fits looser on the head. So, and I don't like working that direction. You can continue to work that direction. I'm going to be working this direction. Okay, so I'm going to knit that first one, U-knit the second one, Then I'm going to purl 2. Knit 2, purl 2, and you're going to do this all the way around, and you're going to do it for however many rows it takes to get to 2 inches. So go ahead and do your 2 inches for your brim, and then I will go and show you the best bind off method. It's a modified bind off method that Loom a hat does. I love it. It's great. It does great for if you need something to be stretchy but you want a clean finish. I find the super stretchy bind off leaves a sloppy finish, and so I prefer the modified bind off that Loom a hat does, and I will be glad to post a link on that. So go ahead and pause the video, complete however many rows it takes of your rib stitch to make 2 inches, and then I will show you how to do the bind off method. Okay, you'll see that's about 2 inches right there, so I'm ready to cast off, bind off. So what I'm going to do is E-wrap the first 2 pegs, take that second stitch on the second peg, move it over to the first, toss the bottom loop over, E-wrap those 2 pegs, take that one, move it over, toss the bottom loop over, then E-wrap those 2 pegs, take that second loop, move it back to the first, toss the bottom loop over, move it over. You're going to do this all the way around, and this allows for some stretch but also keeps a beautiful line so it doesn't look sloppy at the end. Okay, once you do that, then your beret is done. Now when I get to the last one, there's something I sometimes like to do. Is you'll see this big break here. I sometimes like to pull up that very last one over here and pull it up over so it connects it, so you don't have that gap, and then toss the bottom loop over and wrap again, and that way it removes that gap. Snip the end, pull through. Okay, and there is your beret. I like to go in and stretch out my and while you think that looks small, the reason why I did the rib stitches, it'll actually stretch quite a bit, but it'll fit nicely around the face. And there is the beret, and you see how that looks. That is consistent. That system will work with any loom you want to use. So that is how you go about making a beret on any loom you want.